You wake not to sunlight, nor to darkness, but to the strange, weightless quiet of a place that isn't a place at all. There's a hum in your bones, as if the air itself is vibrating. You sit up, though there is no floor beneath you, only shifting colors, fragments of voices, drifting shards of moments, like pieces of a mirror broken across centuries. One voice is laughing, another crying, another chanting a prayer in a language you almost recognize but cannot name. And then it hits you. You aren't home. You aren't even in the right century. The last thing you remember is falling asleep in your own bed, in your own time, with the hum of electricity faint through the walls. Now you feel it. Something has slipped. Time has snapped like a rope too tightly pulled, and you've been flung into the great spinning wheel of history. Each time you close your eyes, you will wake in a different place, in a different body, among strangers who mistake you for one of their own. You will see their food, breathe their air, walk their streets. You will know their fates before they do. And yet, when you warn them of what's to come, they will laugh or sneer or turn away. Because the curse of knowing the future is this: no one believes you in the present. The colors shift again. A hot wind brushes against your cheek. You smell dust, sweet incense, and the faint salt of a river. And then sand under your feet, voices rising in chatter, the clink of copper coins. You have arrived. You wake to the blinding brilliance of the sun. It burns down on your skin with a heat that feels alive, a heavy hand pressing against your chest. Around you, the world smells of dust, smoke, and river water. You are standing in the middle of a market by the Nile. The air is alive with sound. Donkeys bray as they tug carts of onions and garlic. Women shout prices, holding baskets of figs high over the crowd. Somewhere close, the sticky sweetness of honey cakes drifts through the air. Somewhere further, you catch the sharp tang of fish left too long in the sun. Your stomach growls before you realize you're starving. The man beside you, brown-skinned, hair shaven smooth, sweat running down his temples, glances at you as though expecting you to join him. He presses a bundle of flatbread into your hands, rough and warm, the flour still clinging to your fingers. Bread, beer, onions. This is the diet of Egypt, the food of gods and peasants alike. You chew, and the bread is coarse, heavy, gritty between your teeth. No butter, no softness, but it fills you, anchors you in this place that does not feel like a dream. You look around. Children run barefoot, skin glistening in the heat. Merchants squat on woven mats, calling out prices. Behind them, painted walls gleam in the sun, carved with stories of kings and gods. The river glints in the distance, a silver blade cutting through endless desert. Life is loud here, busy, sacred, fragile. As you walk, you feel how survival hangs by a thread. The Nile is their heartbeat. If it floods too little, crops fail. Too much, and houses wash away. You overhear two farmers muttering nervously about this year's waters. Lower than usual, they say, though they smile through it, pretending all will be well. You want to tell them, one day the river will betray you. Droughts will stretch years, grain will rot in storage or vanish under greedy hands. The empire that feels eternal will wither like a reed in the sun. But when you open your mouth, your voice comes out strange, heavy, as though you are speaking through someone else's body. Be careful, you whisper to the scribe scratching notes on a clay tablet. The Nile will not always save you. He blinks, then bursts into laughter. The Nile is a god. The Nile never fails. You say nothing more. You already know how the story ends. That evening, when the sun finally softens and the world turns gold, you are led to a house made of mud brick, its walls cool against the heat of day. Inside, the floor is hard-packed earth. A mat is laid for you, woven reeds, thin linen sheets. No pillows, no comfort, only the roughness of survival. The family eats together by torchlight, a bowl of lentils, pungent with garlic, a jug of beer, cloudy and sour, passed around. The children laugh, faces smeared with food, before curling up beside their parents, pressed shoulder to shoulder. You lie awake on the mat, the sounds of the city drifting in, the cry of a baby, the bark of dogs, the whisper of insects. The air smells of smoke and sweat, of life pressed close together. And in the silence between breaths, you realize, for them, this is safety. Togetherness is survival. But you also know their safety will not last forever. Days pass in Egypt. You try again and again to warn them. You tell the farmer his fields will one day be swallowed by sand. You tell the priest his gods will be toppled by new ones. You tell the merchant his city will belong to foreigners. Each time you are met with laughter or suspicion or the weary shake of a head. One evening you stand at the riverbank. A young girl sits beside you, swinging her legs above the water. She asks you why you always look so sad. You hesitate. Then you tell her the truth, that no empire lasts forever, that even cracks stone, that even rivers run dry. She listens quietly, her small fingers trailing through the water. Then she smiles. Maybe, but today the river runs. Today we have bread. That is enough. And you realize she is right. But the truth still clings to you. You see the cracks already, the greed of officials hoarding grain, the whispers of foreign soldiers circling at the edges, the growing gap between rich and poor. You know how this ends. Egypt, once the jewel of the world, will be swallowed up by others. Persia, Greece, Rome, kingdom after kingdom. Its gods will be forgotten, its language lost, its glory reduced to ruins tourists marvel at thousands of years later. You close your eyes, and when you open them again, the sand is gone. The heat is gone. The air tastes of olives and wine and smoke. You have moved again. You wake to the sound of voices. Not the quiet murmur of a family at dinner, not the chanting of priests at a temple, but a loud crashing sea of words. Men are shouting, hands wave in the air, arguments fly like arrows, fast and sharp. You blink awake, and there you are, in the middle of the Agora, the great marketplace of Athens. The air smells of olives and smoke. Fresh bread, hot from the oven, mixes with the sharper tang of goat cheese. You hear the clatter of bronze coins in clay jars, the bleating of goats tethered near stalls, and the hiss of oil poured into amphorae. It is noisy, vibrant, alive. Everywhere you look, men in tunics stride across the square, sandals slapping stone. They stop in clusters, debating loudly about law, about war, about what it means to be free. Their voices rise above the sound of vendors selling figs and honey, above the squeak of wagon wheels carrying baskets of grapes. You realize this is a place where words are as important as bread. Words can shape laws, start wars, end friendships. And you, the stranger, are caught in the middle of it. A merchant presses a handful of olives into your hand. They are wrinkled, salty, sharp on your tongue. Beside him a woman sells barley bread, round and dense, which you tear with your teeth. You dip it into oil, thick and golden, and taste both bitterness and richness at once. This is their daily meal: bread, olives, maybe a little goat cheese if fortune allows. Wine diluted with water is their comfort, their medicine, their joy. You drink, and it is sour, but cool against the heat of the day. You notice something. The men eat here in the square, loudly, carelessly, while women remain mostly in the background, quiet, veiled in doorways. You see their eyes flicker toward the marketplace, but they do not join the debates. Freedom, it seems, has boundaries. That night, you are given a place to sleep in a small, crowded home. The floor is stone, cool beneath thin mats of straw. You lie with others in the same room, pressed close against bodies breathing in the dark. There is no privacy, no stillness, only the chorus of soft snores, whispers, the occasional bark of a dog outside. The air smells of smoke from the hearth, mingled with sweat and oil. You shift, restless, but this is comfort to them. Safety is a roof over your head, food in your stomach, neighbors close enough to hear if you cry out in the night. The next day, you are pulled into a crowd gathered around a speaker. A young man, face flushed with passion, stands on a stone platform, declaring his vision for Athens. He shouts of honor, of strength, of democracy, the voice of the people. But the crowd turns restless. Another man interrupts, mocking him, twisting his words. Suddenly voices rise in anger, hands shove, the air grows sharp with tension. You remember history. You know this truth. Democracy is fragile. Freedom here is built on a narrow base, on slaves who till the fields, on women silenced in their homes, on foreigners kept at the edge. You lean toward a man beside you and whisper, "One day, this city will tear itself apart. Sparta will march against you. Rome will swallow what is left." The man laughs, clapping your shoulder. "Athens, fall? Never. We are the light of the world." But you see in his eyes a flicker of doubt, a shadow he cannot name. The argument in the square grows heated. The crowd pushes closer. A jug of wine shatters on the stones, spilling red liquid like blood. Shouts echo off the marble walls.
For a moment, you feel it, how quickly passion can turn to fury, how easily debate can slide into violence. Democracy is not reasoned conversation, not here, not always. Sometimes it is a mob. And you think, this is why Athens will not last. The brilliance of philosophy, of art, of science, it burns too hot. It consumes itself. That night, as you lie awake on the stone floor, you hear the faint sounds of laughter outside. A group of young men drinking, singing songs to the gods, daring each other to run naked through the street. Life goes on as if nothing is fragile, as if the city will last forever. But you know better. Athens will be betrayed by its own pride, torn apart by war with its neighbors, weakened by plague, consumed by empire. Its philosophers will be remembered, its plays performed, but the people themselves, these men shouting in the square, these women watching from the shadows, they will fade. You close your eyes, and when you open them again, the air is thicker, heavy with heat, sweet with cacao and maize. The sound of drums beat through the night like a second heartbeat. You have moved again.
You wake to drums, a low, steady thrum that seems to come from the earth itself. The air is thick, wet and heavy with the smell of smoke and flowers. Your skin is damp the moment you breathe in. The night is alive with insects buzzing, with the croak of frogs, with unseen creatures shifting in the trees. When you sit up, you see them. Great stone pyramids rise from the jungle, their steps steep, their edges sharp against the starry sky. Torches burn along the stairways, smoke curling into the dark. People move in flickering light, painted faces, feathered headdresses, bodies glistening with sweat and ritual paint. The drums grow faster. At dawn, the market fills. You walk through stalls where women grind maize on stone slabs, their hands strong, their movements practiced. The smell of tortillas fills the air, smoky, warm, nutty. You bite into one, and it is coarse but comforting. A man offers you a bowl of cacao, thick and bitter, spiced with chili. It is not sweet, not like the chocolate you know from the future, but sharp, almost medicinal, waking your senses. Corn, beans, squash, these are the trinity of survival here. Everything depends on maize. It is food, ritual, life itself. And yet you know the truth. Dependence is a double-edged blade. One day the soil will fail. The rains will not come. Maize will no longer answer their prayers. You are led to a group of priests, their foreheads bound to shape their skulls, their eyes lined with black. They stand atop a temple, staring at the heavens. In their hands, bark paper books filled with star charts. They murmur about Venus, about cycles of the moon, about the gods that move in the sky. They do not see the jungle. They do not see the hunger creeping closer in the villages. They see only stars. One priest turns to you. The gods demand balance. When the rains falter, it is because we have failed. We must give more. You look down at the square below. A man kneels, his chest bare, his face calm, as another lifts a blade. The crowd chants, their voices rising to the sky, as though blood itself could call back the rain. You whisper, "It is not the gods, it is the soil, it is the trees you cut down, it is the sky itself changing." But they do not hear you, or perhaps they refuse. You sleep in a hammock, strung between wooden posts under a thatched roof. The air is damp, clinging to your skin, heavy with the perfume of flowers and the sour tang of smoke from the cooking fire. Around you, families curl into hammocks of their own. Children murmur in dreams. A dog shifts in the dark. The jungle outside alive with rustling leaves. You rock gently, the woven cords creaking. For a moment it feels peaceful, almost like floating. But beneath the peace is unease. The drums never stop. Even in sleep, you feel their echo. The next day, a boy follows you, barefoot, thin, eyes wide. He whispers that he saw something in the sky the night before, a streak of light, a comet burning across the stars. He asks you what it means. You hesitate, because you know what they will say. The gods are angry, more sacrifice is needed, more blood spilled on the stones. You could tell him the truth, that it is only rock and fire, a messenger from space, nothing more. But what good would that do? His world is woven from ritual. Without it, everything falls apart. So you stay silent. And yet you see it everywhere. The forests cut down for firewood, leaving the soil bare. The fields stretched thin, each harvest weaker than the last. The constant wars between cities, each demanding tribute, each spilling blood. This world is brilliant. It reaches for the stars, but brilliance can burn too bright. You think of their pyramids, their carvings, their calendars more precise than centuries ahead. And you think of how one day all of this will vanish beneath jungle vines. The temples swallowed, the books burned, the people scattered. The jungle hums louder. The drums beat faster. You close your eyes, and when you open them again, you hear water rushing. You smell wood smoke and roasted venison. You see mounds rising by a river, great earthen shapes against the sky. You have moved again.
You wake to the sound of water, not the Nile, not the Mediterranean, not the dripping jungles of the Maya. This is different. This is wide, rolling, endless, a river that flows like an artery through the land. Its banks are green with tall grass. The morning air is cool, touched with mist. When you rise, you see them. Great mounds of earth rise beside the water, some shaped like cones, others stretched long like the backs of sleeping animals. Wooden palisades ring the town. Inside, smoke curls from thatched roofs, voices hum, and children run laughing through the grass. This is not empire. This is community. You are led into a long wooden house where a family shares their morning meal. Clay bowls are filled with corn soup, thick and fragrant, steam rising into the rafters. Strips of dried venison hang near the fire. A woman stirs beans into the pot, adding herbs gathered from the forest edge. You eat slowly. The corn is sweet, soft, grounding. The meat is chewy but rich with smoke. Everything here tastes of earth, of work,
of balance. Food is shared. Children are fed first, elders next. You notice there is no sharp divide between rich and poor, only kin, only duty. But you also notice the weariness in their eyes. Crops depend on rain, meat depends on the hunt. One bad season can mean hunger for all. At night you sleep inside a round house of wood and clay, its roof thick with thatch. Mats of woven reeds cover the floor. Families lie together in a circle, bodies warmed by a central fire. The air is smoky, but soft. You hear the crackle of wood, the hush of the river outside, the distant call of owls. A child shifts beside you, curling closer in sleep. This is how safety feels here. Not walls of stone, not armies, but closeness. The village watches over itself. The next day you are brought to a gathering. Elders sit in a circle, their words calm but heavy. They speak of droughts to the west, of harvests running thin. Some call for stricter rules, tighter tribute, more power to the chiefs. Others warn against greed. You lean toward a man beside you and whisper, "It will not be drought that breaks you. It will not be hunger. It will be something you cannot see, carried from across the sea." He frowns. "What sea? Who would come so far?" You cannot answer. Because you know the truth. Before conquerors march, before guns fire, before treaties break, death will already walk among them. Disease will arrive first, unseen, unstoppable, and no mound, no palisade, no council will hold it back. That evening, as the fire burns low, you hear coughing in the dark. At first one, then another, then a child's small gasp. The people believe it is only the cold, or smoke, or bad air. But you know it is something else, something that will spread like fire through the villages long before they even see the sails of ships. You want to tell them, you want to scream it, but what would they hear? A warning about a future they cannot imagine? A sickness without a name? You stay silent. The child's cough echoes like a drumbeat in your chest. By day, the village looks peaceful. Canoes sliding across the river, fields of maize stretching in the sun, laughter drifting on the wind. But you see the cracks already forming, overcrowding, struggles for power, hunger creeping at the edges. And worse, the shadow they cannot see, the invisible storm of disease carried on winds from across an ocean they do not yet believe exists. This world is strong, balanced, alive, and yet, like Egypt, like Greece, like the Maya, it will fall. You close your eyes. The coughs linger in your ears. And when you open them again, you hear shouting, you smell wine, sweat, and smoke. You stand in a city of marble, of arches, of soldiers marching in rhythm. You have moved again. You wake to shouting. Not the shouts of hunger in Egypt, nor the debates of Greece, nor the chants of Maya priests. These are rough, angry shouts, a crowd pressing through narrow streets. When you open your eyes, you are in Rome. The smell hits you first, sharp, fishy, pungent. Garum, the fermented fish sauce Romans pour on everything. It drips from clay jars, its salt stinging your nose. Vendors shout prices in Latin. Stalls overflow with coarse loaves of bread, figs spilling from baskets, olives glistening with oil. A boy offers you a skewer of roasted meat, charred and dripping with fat. You eat, but it is heavy, too salty, too much. You remember that for most here, food is not luxury, but survival. The poor live on bread and barley gruel, praying the state will hand out the grain promised to keep riots from breaking. And when the grain ships are late, hunger burns hotter than any fire. By afternoon you are swept into a bathhouse. Steam fills the air, thick with the scent of oil and sweat. Men sit naked on stone benches, gossiping, arguing, laughing too loudly. The water is warm, but the air is foul. Oil and dirt skim the surface, floating in greasy circles. You sink in, your skin prickling, trying not to think of the sickness that festers in shared water. You listen. Men whisper about senators taking bribes, about an emperor growing paranoid, about taxes bleeding the people dry. And yet, above their complaints, they boast of Rome's eternity. Rome will never fall. You know better. At night, you are led into an insula, one of Rome's towering apartment blocks. The stairways creak, the walls reek of smoke, urine, and rot. Families crowd into tiny rooms, mats of straw spread across the floor. Rats skitter in the dark. Somewhere below you hear a baby wailing. You lie awake, staring at the wooden beams above you, and wonder which will collapse first, the empire itself or the roof above your head. The next morning the market erupts. The grain ships are delayed. Crowds of citizens gather, shouting, fists raised, demanding bread. Soldiers arrive, shields clashing, iron ringing. You see a woman trampled, her loaf torn from her hands, a boy beaten back by a soldier's club. You want to shout, "This is how it ends!" Not in glory, not in battle, but in hunger. Not with a single enemy's strike, but with thousands of small cracks. Greed, corruption, fire, famine, plague. But your voice is drowned in the chaos. That night, smoke from torches clings to the air. Rome feels enormous, unstoppable, the heart of the world. But you see the rot, the endless wars, the extravagance of the rich, the weariness of the poor. You think of the phrase whispered even now, panem et circenses, bread and circuses. Keep the people fed, keep them entertained, and they will not rebel. But what happens when the bread runs out? You close your eyes. The roar of the crowd lingers in your ears. And when you open them again, the air is colder, the smell is sharper, coal smoke, horse dung, damp stone. Gas lamps flicker weakly through fog. You have moved again.
You wake to the rattle of carriage wheels on cobblestones. A chill mist hangs heavy in the air, carrying with it the acrid bite of coal smoke. You cough, your throat raw, as soot settles on your tongue like bitter dust. When your eyes adjust, you realize You are in London, the heart of the Victorian world, the city that believes itself the center of civilization. And yet, you already know, beneath its polished manners and grand inventions lies a world of shadow. You wander through an alley narrow as a coffin. Laundry hangs limp between crooked buildings, dripping with yesterday's rain. Children run barefoot in the mud, their bellies swollen, their hair crawling with lice. A woman ladles watery soup into tin bowls. The smell is faint, onions and cabbage boiled down to near nothing. She hands it out with cracked hands, while her own lips are pale with hunger. You taste it, thin, smoky, and sour. You've had worse, but here the cruelty lies in contrast, because across town the rich are feasting, eggs, smoked salmon, tea sweetened with sugar shipped from colonies far away. Two cities exist inside one, and the line between them is sharper than any knife. By nightfall, you are pushed into a doss house, a penny for a rope to lean across, 2 pennies for a wooden board to lie on. The room is packed, the air thick with sweat, gin, and coughs. A man beside you hacks into a rag streaked with blood. Tuberculosis, though they call it consumption. Another stirs in fever, cholera, or perhaps typhoid. You press against the wall, shivering. The boards creak. The air is damp, sour with mildew. Sleep is shallow, broken by snores, weeping, and the scurry of rats across the floor. And you wonder, how did they endure this night after night? Morning comes, with whistles and bells. You are herded with the rest into a factory, where steam hisses and gears grind. Children no older than 10 work the looms, their fingers raw and scarred. A girl stumbles, her hair caught in a spindle. She screams as overseers yank her free, more worried about the machine than her bloodied scalp. The floor shakes. The air is hot with smoke and oil. You breathe shallow, but your lungs still ache. Here progress is worshipped, yet the worshippers are ground down into soot and bone. That evening, you glimpse another side of the city. A glittering theater, carriages lined outside, ladies in silk and gentlemen in top hats. Inside, laughter rings out, champagne bubbles, and velvet glows under gaslight. The rich applaud an opera, while only a few streets away, children cough themselves to death in alleyways. The gap is obscene, and no one wants to see it. London seems invincible. Its empire stretches across seas. Its factories churn day and night. Its wealth piles high. But you know better. You see the cracks, the cholera epidemic spreading through tainted water, the fires sparked by overcrowded buildings, the protests of workers demanding dignity. You see the empire's hunger for coal, for cotton, for lives, and how it cannot last forever. Like Egypt, like Greece, like the Maya, like the indigenous nations, like Rome. No empire endures. As nightfall again, you walk the Thames embankment. The water is black, carrying waste and smoke. A fog rolls in, swallowing the lamps. You breathe in coal and damp, and you realize every world you've walked, every age you've touched, carries the same truth. People endure.
They laugh, love, hunger, weep. They believe their world will last forever. And yet, every empire falls. You close your eyes. The fog thickens. Time pulls you at once more. When you open them, you are back where you began. Your own bed, your own time. The air is clean, the light is electric, the silence is yours. But you carry their ghosts with you.
You wake in your own bed. The sheets are soft. The pillow smells faintly of soap. The hum of an electric lamp glows beside you. And for a moment you lie very still, listening, waiting, wondering if you will be pulled again into the currents of time. But the air is quiet, the walls steady. The window frames a skyline of glass and steel, rising higher than the pyramids, wider than any Roman road. You are home, and yet you are changed. Egypt drifts through your mind first. The dust, the heat, the way every stone carried both glory and grief. They built for eternity, but their eternity crumbled. Their gods went silent, their tombs plundered, their people forgotten, except as echoes. Then Greece, the olives, the debates, the songs sung under torchlight. A people so certain of their brilliance, yet undone by pride and war. The theater of life turned tragedy. The Maya follow, the forest steaming, pyramids rising out of green. They watched the skies with unmatched genius, yet the land betrayed them, or perhaps they betrayed it. Hunger swallowed them before enemies ever could. The indigenous nations, whose rivers and fires carried wisdom the world did not care to hear. You remember the smoke of their sacred flames, the quiet dignity of their survival rituals. They fell not from their own mistakes, but from the crushing weight of conquest, disease, and greed. Rome rises next, the marble, the noise, the endless hunger for conquest. They built roads that still exist today, but their empire cracked from within. Too much, too fast, too divided. And London, the smog, the soot, the hunger of the poor beside the banquets of the rich. Their empire stretched across oceans, but even it could not withstand the weight of inequality and unrest. The heart of the empire was always coughing, always gasping for breath. Each world lingers like a dream you cannot shake. You realize something. The people of every age thought they would last forever. They built monuments, armies, stories, and laws to outlive time, and yet none of them escaped the same truths. Hunger was always near. Disease always whispered at the door. Love was fragile, easily lost to war or fate. Power always came at a cost. No empire, no matter how mighty, was immune to collapse. But you also remember something softer. The taste of bread shared in silence, the warmth of a fire in the long night, the laughter of children chasing each other through dust and mud, the tenderness of lovers in worlds that never thought their names would be remembered. Survival was not just conquest, it was kindness, small joys,
the will to endure another day. You look out your window at the lights of your own century. Cars hum below, screens glow, satellites arc above. Your world feels unstoppable, yet so did theirs. And you wonder, what will future travelers say of you? What cracks will they see that you ignore? What hidden dangers are already at your feet, waiting to rise? The thought lingers, but it does not frighten you, because now you know the truth. Every day, whether in Egypt or Greece, Maya or Rome, London or here, is a miracle. Fragile, temporary, burning bright against the dark. And so you close your eyes, grateful, haunted, awake.